Hey everyone. I'm really tense right now. Lots of things have a lot of things happened? Well, it feels like a lot of things have happened. I mean, certainly there are things that have happened which I haven't vlogged about, and I'm struggling to think how I'm going to get through them, or which ones I want to talk about, which ones I don't. But I think I'll start first off by talking about my situation. Hold on, let me start from the beginning. So recently I passed my final module in my MSc for building surveying. I got a passing grade for my dissertation, so I'm due to attend the graduation ceremony in January of next year. So I would normally I'd be gunning for a job in surveying, but the thing about getting a job in surveying is that it's highly competitive, and normally, I mean, as is the case with most jobs nowadays, you don't immediately jump into a surveying gig. It's more you have to get a job as a trainee surveyor and then work your way up from there, get some hands-on experience. And I plan to do that, but not right at the moment, because trainee jobs, entry-level jobs are highly competitive. Most jobs are. I don't think surveying's any different or unique in comparison with most skilled jobs that you need a degree for and stuff like that. So in the meantime, until I make a head start on my actual my career as a surveyor, as a trainee surveyor, I've got myself a different job that I'm about to start soon, and that is I'm going to be a care worker. Now, why a care worker? Well, it wasn't my first choice, I'll admit. It's just I've applied for dozens of jobs and most of them didn't get back to me, and this is one of the few that did. And the Isle of Wight, it has a majority, most of the people who live here are old. It has a substantially high going on? Is it drive your car day? Anyway, there's a substantially large elderly population that lives here, so as you can imagine, the care worker industry is quite high in demand. And yeah, that means I've already finished most of my training, by the way. There's some more online modules that I have to do, but once that's done, I make a start, either if not this week, then the next one. And well, yeah, I'm gonna be wiping old people's asses. I'm gonna be washing old men's balls and possibly old women's fannies. Yeah, I really look forward to that. I mean, it's not, as I said, it wasn't my first choice. I don't presume that it will be a pleasant experience, but who knows? All I know is that the material reality of my situation, the here and now, is such that I need a job. My credit card debt hasn't been paid off yet, and there's an inherent indignity that comes with living on universal credit, living on welfare. I mean, sure, it's nice not having a job take up your time, but not having any money also sucks. And sometimes you have to pick between one or the other, but neither of them are desirable. Yeah, the weird thing is I tend to fluctuate between one or the other. Like I figured out that I think the longest I've ever held a job, was probably my last job, has been essentially, what was it? I started in December 2023 and I ended it in June 2025. So a year and a half. I think that's the longest I've ever held a job. And I wonder how much longer I would have stayed at the job if my family and I weren't moving house. But that just seems to be the way things are with me. I'm not the kind of person who can hold down a job for very long, because because my mood changes a lot of the time. I get bored. I get bored of the same routine. I get bored of doing the same thing, getting hemmed in and weighed down by the rigidity. And that's why I've rarely held a job longer than around a year. If you look at my CV, you'll see that there's plenty of examples of jobs that I've held where I've held it for, say, somewhere between 9 months to a year and a half, and that's just how it is with me. I get bored, I get tired of doing the same thing, and I get to the point where I feel like it's better to be unemployed. But then the reality of being unemployed hits you, and you don't have any money, so you've got to search for another one. So yeah, my mood is very volatile, and it changes a lot of the time, and this is probably another example of that. Goddamn cars. So I don't know how long I'm going to stick around at this job for. It remains to be seen. I'm hoping at the very least I can stick around long enough to the point where I can earn enough money to pay off my credit card debt, because I want to get to a point where I no longer need to use my credit card, where I no longer feel the need to have to use it, because the truth is, I regret getting a credit card. I feel like the credit card is designed to make you spend more money. It's designed to incentivize more consumerism, more consumer spending. It gives you the illusion of having access to more money, but that's exactly what it is. It's an illusion. It's a form of slavery. It's nice having access to an extra £3,000 or £4,000, but you have to pay off the £3,000 or £4,000, and the longer you take to pay it off, the more interest you have to pay. And the fact that I have unpaid debts, some people are very casual and laid back about, racking up debts. I think my brother's like that, but I'm not. It freaks me out. Yeah, that kind of thing really, it really worries me. So I want to be free of that worry of having to rely on my credit card one day. And that's why I hope to, at least in the meantime, build up a small enough or large enough pool of savings so that I no longer feel dependent on my credit card. I have two different cards, two different bank cards. One is with my current account. My main account is with First Direct. They're all right. And then there's my other card, which I use basically for everyday random pleasures, like when I fancy a coffee, or if I'm at a pub and I need a drink, or if I'm hungry, I need something to eat, or if it's my brother's birthday, for instance, and I need to quickly rush into the shop and get him a card or something like that. So that's what my other card is for, and that's with Monzo. And then I carry a bit of cash on my person, but the important thing for me is I want to phase out the use of my credit card, because I feel like it'll give me a sense of security, where at the very least I can no longer worry about the overdraft, about the interest accruing. Of course, that's not to say that once I've gotten rid of my credit card I'll be completely free, because then I've also got my student loans to pay off, although, well, maybe that'll sort itself out once I become an actual qualified surveyor, because then, I hope, I'll be earning enough money to the point where I'll realistically be able to pay off my student loans. But luckily, student loan debts in this country, they're less a cause for concern, because if you don't earn above a certain threshold, then you don't need to pay off the debt, and the debt wipes by the time you reach a certain age. Now, I'm not an economist, so I can't speak as to how sound or how wise it is for for our government to have that kind of policy, you know, that be able to lend money out so liberally like that with no strings attached. But hey, that's just the way things are, and I'll focus on paying off my student loans if I earn enough to be able to wipe the debt. But I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. In the meantime, however, in the immediate present and the future, I'm going to be doing care work. And I haven't decided what my hours are going to be. It's a 0 hours contract. I have the option of working early morning to afternoon shifts, or afternoon to late evening shifts. What I'm thinking I'm probably going to do is I'm going to work both morning and evening shifts on the same days for about 3 days of the week, which combined would be something like 35 to 40 hours in a single week. And that way, all of my working days would be set for 3 days of the week, and the remaining 4 days, I get to have them all to myself. And I think that's how I would like to, that's the kind of work system I'd like to have. Because that way it would give me the best work and life balance. But then again, I haven't been in a position where I actually experience what care work is like. I don't know how exhausting it is. Well, I don't think it's physically exhausting. Most of the people who do care work are female, so I don't see how a job that's majority female could be physically exhausting. Although I don't imagine that it will be easy. It's certainly not going to be without challenges, because I'm going to be exposed to a lot of things that I wish I didn't have to see. Old people who are too physically weak and frail to get out of bed, people who can't poo right, have to clean up poo and put it in a bag and clean and wash people's genitals. Good God. Then again, however, yes, care work is probably one of the most gross things you could ever conceive of doing. Well, that other than perhaps being a nurse. But if I did that kind of But if I did that kind of job and I kept at it for a long enough period of time to the point where I got used to it, and I became numb to the real life horrors of being a care worker, well, it might make me more resilient and more strong as a person. And if that happens, well then I guess it won't hurt as much. Speaking of which, that reminds me, I didn't mention this earlier, but I should have. I do have first-hand experience in care work, sort of, when I was tending to my father when he was seriously ill and when we lost him last year. I didn't do a great deal of it. Most of it was done by my mum. But yeah, I did have to wipe his ass once and take the shit stew into the bathroom, empty it in the toilet. Yeah, he would use one of those commodes, and I had to empty it and clean it and bring it back to him and all that. It was, the indignity of it. But it's a job that needs to be done, and £13 an hour, well, you could do worse. I mean, the pay is actually slightly more than my last job at Royal Mail. So, and I've always lived by this personal maxim, right? You're not allowed to hate something until you've tried it at least once. You're just not. So that's why I figure there's nothing for me to lose in at least giving this a go. I might turn out to be quite good at it. Who can say? might be able to pay off my credit card debt, and I might discover maybe I might even go down a different career path. Probably not, but anyway, that's my situation. I'm going to be doing care work, and I'm probably going to be starting sometime this week, if not next week. Oh yeah, also it's going to be my birthday in a few days. I'm going to be 31. And that sucks, because I don't feel any different to how I did a year ago. I'm aging, I'm getting older, but nothing is really changing. And that sucks too. You know, I think the one thing that is more tragic than losing your life at a young age is being depressed and miserable as a young man, and then aging to the point where you're an old man, but not having changed at all. I actually, you know, still being an embittered, lonely old man, but with no friends and no family. And God, that to me, that is actually more depressing than dying young. I wonder if anybody else agrees with that. Anyway, that's my life update. You guys take care. This has been Tracking.